It's like a fat burner. Every company sells it, but if you look at the data, it'll help you burn like 25 extra calories a day. That's not worth spending £30 a month on. Like, it's just an absolute waste of time and money.
Ben Coomber.
Ben Coomber. Ben Coomber. He has the #1 health and fitness podcast on iTunes.
And he also owns Awesome Supplements, an award-winning plant-based supplement company.
We've had pallets where the delivery guys just opened it, run a Stanley knife down it, chopped open like 40 bags, and you're like, well, 400 quid that's just evaporated with one swift, Stanley knife blade sort of thing. Before I got ill, our company was doing well. We were doing about £1.5 million. Everything was great. I got ill. In the space of 2 years, lost 180 grand, all through bad decisions. So if people want in this podcast raw numbers of how your health can affect your business, that's it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the TED Talks podcast. Now, every morning I have cereal and I have fruit. Now, on top of this, I have kefir and coconut milk. A strange combination, ignore that. But importantly, I put something in this combination, and this is protein powder. Now, I used to have whey protein powders, like way back in the day, and I think it annoyed my stomach. I'm not really sure. Anyways, I made a switch, and you've seen me speak about this on my Instagram before, to a vegan protein powder. And I'm fortunate enough to have the founder, CEO, managing director, the boss man of this very brand sitting in front of me now. And we are going to talk about everything supplements, everything running a supplement health business, the kind of pros and cons of that, the whys, the legalities, the manufacturing, the branding, the ethics, the research, the awards, everything. So yeah, let's get into it. Ben, welcome to the TED Talks podcast.
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's amazing to me to see your face and these here, because literally I have a drawer in my kitchen. It's like this wide, and I pull it open and there's like 4 bags of Awesome Protein and my cereal, and literally every morning, same thing, pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to have you here to talk about your brand, talk about the business, because supplements can seem like a not a very easy business to get into. We look at the likes of, say, MyProtein and Bulk, and we think they're huge. They've been acquired for X amount of money. They got partnerships with various people. And there's also then the science aspect of, hold on, I'm producing something people are going to eat or consume. There's some safety here. So I really want to go into that. But before we talk about that, I understand you were a coach for, was it 15 years, or you still are, before you launched this?
Yep.
So tell me about that, and then why or what got you into launching this business?
Like every good business story, you get frustrated at something, and I got frustrated at the supplement industry. So I was working with a supplement company, great little company, pretty small, really believed in their values and ethics. And then over time, that just started to become washy, shady, as the pull of money and all that kind of stuff kind of crept in. So we sort of basically fell out. And as someone in my position in the health and fitness industry, people were constantly asking me, what supplements do you take? And I was talking about it a lot because I was building plans for people and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I need a new supplement company to promote. And I started to look around, and they were kind of all doing the same thing. They were all selling 50 to 60% of the supplements heavily underpinned by science. And then there was this like 40% of supplements were really floating in the grey and some just floating in the red. Like, that just doesn't work. But the thing is like, culturally in the fitness industry, it's like everyone takes it. It's like a fat burner. Every company sells it. But if you look at the data, it'll help you burn like 25 extra calories a day. That's not worth spending £30 a month on. Like, it's just an absolute waste of time and money. So in my business naivety, I said, how hard can it be to start a supplement company? And as you do, you kind of sit around the table, you think up names, what would we do? And that's how it started. And yeah, we're now approaching our 7th birthday. Yes, wow. This month.
And starting any business is tough. I think certain businesses are harder than others and come with more restrictions and things to think about. You said, we're going to start it, we'll come up with a name. How do you go from there?
You reach out to contract manufacturers, people that can make it. You sit down with them, say, this is what I want to do. They talk you through the process, the MOQs, minimum order quantity. It's usually very high. I was fortunate enough to come across a small-ish contract manufacturer, and they're willing to work on smaller volumes, because a lot of them are like, they're big volumes. Like, you've got to have 100K to kind of, drop into a line sort of thing. And we sort of built from there. I was very fortunate. Well, not fortunate because I worked hard for it, but I had another profitable business and we used the profit from that business to fund this business. And anyone that's in a product-based business will appreciate that you have to pay for things before you can sell them. It's not like services where you can go out and just deliver and get paid. So we invested quite a lot of cash up front, probably at least 100 grand to get the business off the ground. And I mean, it didn't turn a profit for a good 4 or 5 years.
And how does that feel? Because, you know, everyone wants to invest something and get a return instantly, but we know in real life it doesn't happen. But 4 years is a significant amount of time to invest 6 figures to not make profit. Like, how did it feel in those 4 years?
Firstly, I'm cool playing the long game. Secondly, I had another business that was bringing in profit. So I was like, look, as long as we can make this work, cool, let's invest. I saw the long play. Thirdly, ego. I sort of sat there and was like, well, if I'm going to do a supplement company, I'm going to need to do this and do that. And I basically felt that I needed to launch a brand with a full range. Otherwise, you might look at my website and go, oh, well, he only does that.
Yeah.
So I've got to go there and then people are like, and then you're really having to persuade people to just buy one product, especially if I'm like, oh, you got to pay delivery on top of that as well. And then you're like, look, come on, taking the piss. In hindsight, what would I do differently? I probably would have done some testing with the manufacturer, picked the product that absolutely stood out and tried to go to market with the one product that people are just like, oh my God, I can't not buy that product from you because it's that incredible. And we do have one of those products. So our chocolate salted caramel protein powder is our biggest seller by far, sell thousands of bags a month.
Wow.
If I'd have brought that out first, I think I could have built off the success of that with a lower capital investment. But we are where we are. That's the approach I took. I went for a brand first approach to the business. And again, that's another long play. So I don't know. I think I've read enough business books to know that if you can see real strength in your long-term brand vision, then you will come out the other side of it. And if you can believe in what you're doing for 3, 4, 5 years, then you'll make a good go of it. And if you read most business stories, the inflection point seems to be around 3 to 4 years for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about your content, your businesses, whatever, first year you're like, ah. Second year you're like, ah, but a few things are working. And the third year you're like, okay, cool, I like this. And then year 4 you're like, boom, 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 I buy myself a car.
I mean, that's basically how it feels. And people don't want to hear that.
No.
And they don't want it to take that long. And so for people who've maybe never run a business before, technically, what was happening in the business for those 4 years that you didn't make a profit? Because some people would say, okay, put 100 grand in, you got 100 grand worth of product sitting there, you sell it, you make profit. So why was it not profitable for 4 years technically?
Didn't know enough about business finance and really protecting the margin and all the different places margin disappear. Unfortunately, didn't have enough good advice in my business to protect that and put someone really in charge of that. So business, the raw economics of it. So like, for example, we might go, oh, our working margin's 55%. But then you start to look at shipping, pick and pack, fulfillment, and then you look at discount codes you're potentially giving away in your marketing, then your paid marketing spend, then your staff spend. And actually, we just weren't looking at that well enough, and we were blinded because I run a group of companies, so there's 3 brands under one company, so all of the profit is brought into one ecosystem. So we're able to like cover losses in other areas as we maybe build other areas and pull levers. There's advantages to that, but there's disadvantages because you can become lazy at looking across the board at your numbers and stuff. So that was one factor. And with growth comes more investment. If I order 1,000 units this time, I've got to order 2,000 next time if I'm growing, 3,000 next time. And then you kind of want to push your margins. So your manufacturer's like, oh, you can save 70p if you order 5,000. So you're like, God, should we do it? Maybe we'll get some investment. Maybe we'll get a bigger loan. So, you know, it soon gets eaten up. And that's why so many brands in our space have to take on investment. So many product brands have, especially food brands, have to take on investment. Because there's also a lot of risk in food, like it going off. You know, we've had pallets where a delivery guy's just opened it, run a Stanley knife down it, and chopped open like 40 bags. And you're like, well, there's 400 quid that's just evaporated with one swift, Stanley knife blade sort of thing. So, there's a lot of things that can creep up on you, and that's why you've got to have skin in the longer vision, because there will be a lot of those moments.
Yeah, and I think that just shows how complex business is. And yeah, we can simplify it, buy a product, sell it, make a margin, but there's so many verticals within your business that you maybe weren't keeping an eye on, or just got out of hand, or like the delivery, that people really don't think about when they're starting. There's so many complexities to it. So you went brand first. But when it comes to your product, I prefer the vanilla, actually. I think the vanilla is just, because I like salted caramel, it's banging, but the vanilla just tastes so creamy, and it just doesn't taste like vegan protein powder.
Sure.
Which for me is like the biggest wow moment with the whole thing, when I was like, this is, because I used to drink whey all the time, and it was like, it has a different flavour. It's more, I don't know, tastes more real at some point.
Creamy?
Yeah, more creamy, more like dairy. I love dairy, so it tastes like dairy. And then I had yours, and then I was just like, how is this vegan? This is mad. So that's like something we'll talk about. But that product is central, because of course someone could order a bag off your branding, they get it, and that's it, you've lost them, because the product's terrible.
Yep.
So from the beginning, how did you, obviously you had the fitness nutrition knowledge, but how did you design or create a protein powder that would taste so good and tick all of your boxes with a sort of manufacturer who probably just wants an easy life and just says, here's some protein?
Having high standards. The manufacturer sends you a sample based on your spec, and you're like, it's okay, needs improvement. And then you'll probably say, can you improve this? They'll send you a second sample. And what I think a lot of brands do in our space is they then go, well, how much can we push this? How much can we ask? Because also a lot of flavouring houses and contract manufacturers, they charge you to make the product. But because I was able to get a manufacturer that was quite small, and they wanted the business, they could see my following and the potential, growth trajectory. They were like, well, we'll design your products for free. So I wouldn't say I abused that, but I want the perfect product. If I'm going to bring it into a market that's competitive, I've got to have a really good product. So I just pushed the manufacturer, and we probably did 10, 12, 14 different sampling rounds till I was like, do you know what? I think that's absolutely brilliant. Bring it to market. Product has to come first. Otherwise you're going to die in business. Because again, you'll just go, well, I'll go and look on Amazon, try a different brand, try a different brand. And I used to go to events all the time, and we'd speak to potential customers, and they're like, so would you like to buy a bag? And they're like, the thing is, I've got 5 sitting in my cupboard that I kind of need to drink, but I don't like them. And that is a problem with the world of protein, because a lot of the powders out there are terrible. Yeah,
I agree. And, so do you need product knowledge, in the sense that when it comes to that, the sort of nuances of that back and forth with this manufacturer, are you saying, add less sucralose, add this, or are you just saying, here's the flavor profile I want, but I don't want these ingredients and I don't mind these, and they create it? Who really formulates it? Yeah, that exact process. So I put the spec together, and depending on my knowledge, I might lean on their experience, because they'll have a lot of market experience.
And then I'd say, fortunately, I'm a bit of a foodie. I've got a good palate. I think I've got a good judgment for what's bad and what's good. And then my brother's the same. So my brother, he's got a great palate. And then you start to ask your wife and a few friends and stuff, and 6 or 7 opinions, you should be able to get it pretty close. So it's not complicated. It's not hard. And you asked I suppose you made a statement at the beginning, how do you get into the supplement business? It's not hard. Anyone can start a supplement company. I wouldn't recommend they do, because I believe that you have to have you should have credibility, you should have expertise, because in the modern world you get found out. And the reviews will show it. People will try your product and be like, this guy's an idiot, this product shit. Then your business is sunk.
It's true. And the product, how do you, without giving any trade secrets away, how do you make it taste so good while still being vegan, while still mixing well? Because I mix it with kefir, which isn't the easiest thing to mix with.
Nope.
Coconut milk is it's basically water. It mixes well. And even with water, it mixes well. I've mixed it with, I don't know, maybe some milk at some point. Everything about it is not what, traditional vegan protein powders kind of give you. So how how do you do that whilst keeping it free of nasty stuff and healthy?
Yeah. So the fitness industry is obsessed with protein content, and we're mildly obsessed with it. The problem is you have to constantly sacrifice taste when you're constantly pushing for the highest protein content. So protein bars are a really good example. Like our protein bars are about 18 to 19 grams of protein per bar for 250 calories. If I want it to be higher, I can, but I have to sacrifice bar texture. So it means the bar will be really dry, which is a common complaint of a lot of people. Like, oh, protein bars powdery, like there.
Yeah.
The same as with protein powder. So I can make my protein 80% protein, but I have to sacrifice taste. Now, in the vegan and plant-based market, most people are complaining that the taste is crap.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say to you, I tell you what, are you happy with there being a little bit less protein in it per 100 grams or per serving? You can just use a bigger serving if you want a bit more.
Which I do.
But it's going to taste absolutely incredible. And basically, we just put less gums in it, so it mixes easier. We put more cocoa in it, more natural flavouring, and just work to get that balance right. Like with any kind of recipe, you work the balance, and then you end up with a good tasting product.
And why don't other companies are obsessed with getting the most, so we've got 95% protein content. But why aren't others maybe doing what you're doing in terms of making that sacrifice? Is it because the world is obsessed with, if I'm paying £10, I need 90% protein and I have to get the max out of it? Is that simply it?
There's a lot of problems there. So I suppose there's potentially a good business lesson here. You can have a great idea and see an opportunity, but sometimes there's a huge upheaval in how much you have to educate your market to show them that you're a better product and for X reasons. So if the market out there is like, I must get a protein powder with 80% plus protein content, I've got to talk to you quite a lot through a lot of content, a lot of marketing, and that costs time and money to show you that there's a benefit to maybe sacrificing there a little bit. So that's the first thing. Secondly, most supplement companies care more about money than they do the product. So they're like, we'll make it taste all right. We'll run a discount. We'll make it look sexy by putting an influencer behind it who's got abs or, in the gym with their bikini on, whatever, doing ridiculous stuff. And yeah, that's kind of the crux of it, really. So we just went with make the product incredible first, and we'll just play the long game and hopefully build over time. And our statistics show or prove that it is the right approach, because we have 80% customer retention rate. 80% of our customers are reordering, every month. So that's testament that we're doing something right.
Wow. And one thing I saw, and I always see on the packs, is the protein powders are free of heavy metals, fillers, etc. Now, I would assume, apart from maybe tap water and other bits, that most food products I eat are going to be free of heavy metal and free of that stuff. But yours specifically says it. Does that mean that other protein powders have heavy metals and fillers? And what's the story with that?
Potentially. So pea protein's a good example. We use organic pea protein as our base. So pretty much 70% of the ingredient in that product is organic. And they'll grow the peas in whatever country, they'll harvest it. Now you have no idea what kind of chemicals, fertilizers, and once it's all ground down into a powder, that might really kind of concentrate itself. The same could be said with, looking at fish.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think there's heavy metals in your fish, but there is. Some fish have high heavy metal levels, and we actually have warnings to say, well, actually, you probably shouldn't eat too much tuna because it shows that they're consistently high in heavy metals. So we knew that was a problem in the ecosystem. Not a lot of people really cared. Like, you probably didn't look out for that when you went looking for a protein powder, but some people are. And again, it was a long-term quality standard of ours. It's like, we don't want that because I don't want that in my body. So I'm going to not put it in, make sure it's not in my product.
Interesting. I know things like tuna, swordfish can have mercury and things there. And I know that everything that's not organic can have any chemical in, given the pesticides and insecticides that are used. So that makes sense, especially with the kind of crushing it down. And with any supplement, now I think creatine is one of the most researched, safest sort of enhancers, maybe we can call it, supplements out there. Everything's very well understood, very well tolerated by most people. give or take, same with protein powder in the sense that it's a food almost.
Yeah.
But society always looks for hacks and shortcuts and, let me take this bulletproof coffee and these fat burners, which is just caffeine, basically, or a bit of taurine or, whatever. Did you get hate when you were starting up, or even now, where people just say, you're just selling dreams, you're selling these fake supplements, do you get that kind of thing on your brand, people saying this?
We didn't know. And that's because when we launched, we had quite a strong marketing campaign against the current state of the industry. So we're not going to do this. And that might be, we're not going to use influencers with their abs out in the gym being like, you can look like me if you take my protein powder.
It's such nonsense.
So we committed to not doing that. And then we had this whole marketing campaign because we're like, we're different. And this is why we're different. And it seems to have worked.
Yeah, and I think, again, that the influencer thing is, I was speaking to someone the other day and I just thought, it's kind of like chicken and egg, because do we blame the influencers, the company, or society? Because a lot of people will see that person with this, I don't know, whatever supplement that's literally, I don't know, grated salmon skin, whatever nonsense they come up with, and they look fit and they'll say causal relationship, not correlational, not causal, and they'll buy it and they'll look at themselves and say, why am I still fat? Because you're eating too much, because you're not exercising. And it's like people don't start with those basics. So, with you being a supplement company, and of course your background as a coach, and I know your website also has blogs and has calorie calculators and some useful nutrition bits. Yeah. Do you find that and I think you might have mentioned this earlier, but you're almost also educating people? And then I suppose if you are or you aren't, where's the line of, because obviously pharmaceutical companies and others will educate to sell, right?
Yep.
Oh, have you got a rash? I think you need that medicine. How do you, if you do or not, educate, but then not take it to the point where you're educating and saying, I think you need the protein powder to be healthy?
So I wouldn't describe ourselves as a supplement company. I'd describe us as an education company, because we're education first. And then I want you as the consumer to make an informed decision as to say, well, actually, this could benefit me. Like, I'm not going to stand there and go, protein powder could benefit you because of all these amazing things. You should definitely take it. It's like, this is where it fits into your lifestyle, your goals, your current potential deficiencies in your diet. Because if I looked at your diet and I'm like, mate, you're hardly eating any protein, and you're like, I don't like meat, and I don't like eating this, and I'm like, well, a simple solution would be to have a protein shake with your breakfast, which is what you're essentially doing. Yeah. So it fits that person's lifestyle. So education has to come first, because it's also like a long-term brand proposition for us. Like, it's a value of ours. Like, I don't want to sell you something and you go down the pub and chat to your mates and say, I've been taking this thing. It's like, you've been sold, and then I've lost all my credibility because I've sold you something that either doesn't work or it's just not right for you. And that's really important. And we probably did ourselves a massive disservice in the early days, because we used to go to a lot of events and present our products at events and booths and all the rest of it. So I used to speak at a lot of events. And people would come over to us and they'd be like, right, I'm training for the gym, I want this, I want that, will this help? And you're kind of stood there and you're like, and you want to backtrack and almost give them a nutrition consultation at the event. And we had so many people walk away from our booth because we were like, this isn't right for you right now, because you need to go away and sleep better. You're not even got your nutrition right. No offense, it doesn't sound like you're training very hard. That's probably why you're not building muscle, so creatine's not going to help. So hopefully, I'm hoping that we had long-term brand value there by actually doing the right thing and not selling someone something at that point because they weren't ready for it.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think it's easy to make the sale at that point, because you've got a customer in front of you. If you say, yeah, absolutely, I think that'll work, they'll buy it. So I think that separates certain companies from other companies. And again, it's a long-term play. They'll remember that and they'll come back in X many years, maybe buy a product and say, I appreciate you giving me that advice. And that's society.
I hope so. Well, probably not. They probably went to the next booth and the guy went,
and then got sold.
Take this, honestly. What we probably should have done was you're right, but after purchase, I'm going to send you some information because I really want you to understand X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
That's what we should have done. But sometimes we need our values checked because our values are being blinded by other values, and you need to soften them to have a broader picture, better progress for the individual. So I've learned that.
Yeah, but I also think society again just wants it wants to go for these hacks and these shortcuts and this 2% increase when you're not sleeping well, you're not eating, or you're not moving, you're not even getting 1,000 steps a day. You're doing your brilliant basics are so lacking that creatine's not going to help you. Like, actually, maybe lift to 2 RPE before failure, maybe do something else. And then you can, look at the percentages that increase. So I think it's like something of society as well. And what we're talking about your product, and we've said it a few times, it's vegan. Are you vegan? Is it important to you? Why is it vegan?
I'm not vegan myself. I would say I have a plant-focused diet, so a large percentage of my diet is plants. I'm not vegan because I believe, well, it is a ethical choice. Like, I don't believe in killing animals for food. That's not a belief that I have. But I had a supplement company that was pretty much like 90% vegan. So we basically had all of these products with a few tweaks. They could be vegan, and then we had fish oil and whey protein. And we were going through a rebranding journey, and I personally don't like whey protein, but I shouldn't let my bias get in the way of my business's decisions. But we were also trying to move some of our production out of Europe because of Brexit was causing a lot of problems. So we were trying to make our whey protein, and with a different manufacturer, and we're like, this quality is just not good enough. It's not good. I'm not happy selling this. And then we were like, I think our plant protein's brilliant. Like, it's our highest selling product by far. We might have been selling 250 tubs of whey protein a month, but we were selling 3,000 tubs of vegan protein a month. So it's like the market's telling us something. We've got friction in our business of the quality of the product. Why don't we go, fully plant-based? So it kind of felt like a bit of a business decision, but it was also an amalgamation of things that were kind of coming together. And as I started to gain more financial ability and awareness in our business, because I was saying to you that was a problem at the beginning, we were starting to look at product, ecosystem, supply chain, profitability, all the rest of it. And the whey protein was just a problem. And the market is highly competitive. Like, how many whey proteins are out there? Let's just say there's 200, but there's only like 40 vegan proteins. So I was like, well, why don't we try and win in a slightly more uncompetitive market? And I was just super proud of the product. I was like, the product can win. It's winning, and it will win better. So we made that kind of choice. And then it just widened the inclusivity. It's like, if I can make a vegan omega-3 oil, which is more sustainable, better for the planet, why wouldn't I do it as opposed to chopping up fish just to get the oil out of it? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So it was an amalgamation of reasons.
I agree. I think there's logical reasons like that. It's just like, why not? It potentially will cost more. It may cost more to the consumer, but I think we're in a place where people are happy to pay more for certain things, especially if they're ethical or vegan, or it helps the planet. Now, we've spoken a lot about the product. So, of course, when you look at the customer journey, the product is, I suppose, central of it, in the sense that once they have it, you can almost hook them in with the product. They'll keep buying it. Your marketing is important, to keep the customer. But I think marketing is even more important before they even have a product, right? Which is customer acquisition. You're on Instagram, you're quite active on Instagram, posting, serious nutrition stuff, but also funny stuff like King Charles carrying your bags of protein out of Buckingham Palace. So how do customers find you, and how do they then get into your sort of, customer ecosystem? What are the main ways you market and brand and find customers? Yeah,
word of mouth is huge. We get a lot of people, posting online and all the rest of it. And that's because the product's great and they want to shout about it. The second thing is we've invested heavily in paid marketing and knowing how to, Facebook ads, all that kind of stuff. Thirdly is my personal brand, my education, what I'm constantly trying to do to help kind of the wider public understand health, nutrition and supplementation. They're probably the three major things.
And, how, do you work on, like a lot of businesses look at cost of customer acquisition, lifetime value of a customer, recurring income from a customer? Do you analyze it to that extent so I suppose, what it costs you per customer and the profit per customer?
Yes, I do.
How important is that in your business or in any business?
I think in the early days, you can obsess on it a little bit too much, and actually in any business's young journey, you just need to hustle until you start to see enough data in the numbers to go, this is where I need to hustle better. Because you never really know what's going to work, because you can look at all the social platforms. You could start doing things on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. But for some reason, your content starts to stick somewhere, a particular platform, whether that's Facebook. And you might listen to some business professionals and they're like, but Facebook's dying, And it's like, but I'm doing well. And then you just pool your resources. So I think you've got to have enough data sometimes to support analysis. Otherwise, you don't really know where you're going to go because the data is just so young. You've got to have a certain amount of traffic to really pull apart data, in my opinion. And because in the early days we were going for more of a longer term brand play, I was just building. And then when the numbers started to look like they were breaking, they didn't add up. That's when we went into the analysis a bit more. And we understand that back to front now.
And just jumping back to product, because I remember when earlier in the podcast, you said that having a range is important so that people kind of buy everything from you or don't go elsewhere and you keep them on the site. And also you mentioned some fat burners, they're rubbish and this, that, and also your Instagram says research backed. So if we put this all together, how did you decide what range of products to offer and what not to offer? And how does the research then come into that?
So we only offer products that have 100% backed research behind it. And that was the way that we built the range. It's like, cool. Protein powder, well established. Creatine, well established. Beta-alanine, well established. Multivitamin that's high quality, well established. So we haven't got any grey, and that basically defined our range. And our range has been quite a simple, core, effective range for quite a long period of time now. We're now going to evolve a bit more. Back end of 2023, 2024, there'll be some significant changes. But again, it's still all based on research, because I want you to look at my brand and think it's credible. And I don't want people to go, oh, well, they've said it's research-based, so it must be. It's not where is the actual research? Show me, where do I need to go? Where can I do my research? And that's really important for me, because ultimately every supplement company says they're research-backed.
Yeah, and I think you can always find some research to back your opinion,
Exactly.
You think fat burning does 25 calories extra. I'm sure someone somewhere funded by a fat burning company would say it's 100 calories. So science is supposed to be this kind of double-blind, peer-reviewed, factual thing, but especially when money's involved, so pharmaceuticals, supplements, we both know that it's going to be what it is. I studied biochemistry at uni, worked in the industry, and I just saw this and thought, that doesn't make any sense. When you're marketing these things, and in fitness, it's incredible how much, I think, nonsense there is. And you have a decision, right? You can be research-backed or be research-backed. You can sell things in a grey area and you'll make more money. I'm pretty confident that if you sold a dream and you would make more money, right? But you're making a conscious decision based on your values not to. And I think people in business need to not get caught up in that money. But when you said this a few times, think about the long game, think about the credibility, think about, well, what do I actually believe in? If I don't believe in this and I laugh at people taking fat burners and it's nonsense, but I could make an extra 100 grand a year selling it, that's a decision a lot of people make towards the money versus the kind of morals. So it's good to see that you're on that side of it, which I expected.
Yeah.
Now, Brexit, you mentioned Brexit caused a lot of issues. Now, people who voted for Brexit probably think it has had no effect and it's wonderful and the country's running great. The news tells you what it wants to tell you. How has Brexit affected your business?
Just made it all complicated with shipping, supply chains, getting product in and out of the country, just loads more red tape. Also, because it created so much change, you're then waiting for all the other companies to basically sort their shit out. So we're trying to negotiate contracts and we don't actually know yet. Our compliance team hasn't done this. And I'm like, well, I need 50 grand's worth of product in next week. So we just basically said, look, this is tying our team up in so many knots. We're wasting time, money and effort. We'll just do everything in the UK. We'll maybe willing to make some hard choices, but we're able to kind of navigate it. But that was the big thing. It all just got messy and no one really knew what was going on. Everyone was getting tied up in paperwork, so we just backed out.
And you said that it cost time and cost money. Was it a significant amount of money? I'm trying to get the viewers to understand the impact of Brexit on businesses. Was it enough that you thought, how much, not necessarily how much was it, but how much did it impact the business and for how long?
Well, we used it to make bigger brand decisions, and the brand has moved way beyond those decisions now. So I can't tell you the financial impact. I also don't care. Like, our business is in a different position. We accepted it. We moved on. I'm not licking any wounds at all. The main thing we did is we stopped selling whey protein. And at the time, that was probably about 20 grand's worth of income a month. So I made the big decision to say, okay, I'm going to wipe 20 grand off my balance sheet every month, which is a bold call to make.
Yeah.
And we didn't make up the short flow for a while. It ended up being quite a significant risk to the business. And it's taken quite a while to kind of win that back. But again, sometimes you just got to know when you're not really going to get the outcome that you want, and you've just got to move on and get your head down.
Cool. That makes sense. And I think it's important not to dwell on these things, not to look back at them in certain ways. Like, the business has changed for the better because of it, not because of it. You made decisions and it's worked out. Have you got a team in Awesome? Like, what is the structure to make it all function and work?
Yeah, it's been a big change over the last couple of months. I used to have a team of about 10. We're now down to 5. There was a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of things have changed. So we've now sort of leaned our operation right down. We've now found I've become a better business owner as well. And this is why I think health in business is so, so, so important. So I, at the back end of 2020, got long COVID and spent 2 years sort of trying to get out of that. And then I had low testosterone, and all of those things they cause you to be in a very dark place. And when you're in a dark place and you haven't got your health, you make bad decisions. And I made a lot of bad decisions, tried to keep growing at the rate we were trying to grow. You combine that with bad decisions, you're going to lose a lot of money. And now I've got my health back. We're making strong decisions, data-led decisions, quick decisions as well to kind of save cash flow. Before I got ill, our company was doing well. We were doing about $1.5 million. Everything was great. I got ill. In the space of 2 years, lost 180 grand, all through bad decisions. So if people want in this podcast raw numbers of how your health can affect your business, that's it. Like, I had poor health and I've lost 180 grand as a result of it, and we're now having to try and get ourselves out of a hole. So health in business is so important, and so many business owners overlook it. And at some point you're going to become unstuck because you're going to be making bad decisions.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a lesson. And I've realized that one of my biggest fears is being unhealthy. Like, people will say, oh, what's your biggest fear? And I think, I don't like spiders, but like I can fuck with them if I need to.
Yeah.
Like,
you could stand them.
Yeah, I can stand them. It's not that bad. And I think, well, I'm not really fear of dying because I'm dead, I'm gone, whatever. And I thought, and I heard something on a podcast, and there's data, I'm sure, to support it, that our lifespan is increasing, but our health span isn't increasing. And so I thought, well, I don't want to be 70 and unhealthy. I want to be 70 and be a bodybuilder in the gym. Like, I want to be to keep my health and activity as much as I can. And so I think when you maybe have a fear of it, or when you've experienced it in your case and what it can do to you, 180 grand, when you're turning over, 1.5 million, that's just over 10% of turnover because of health.
That's most companies' profit. That was all our profit gone.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Because of health, not because of the market, not because, because of health. And that really, really, hopefully, drives home for people listening and watching that, health is wealth. Health is the foundation of everything we do. And without that, this is what happens. And obviously that's something you couldn't necessarily control. Are there things, and I'm sure there are, that you do for your health, to maintain your health, that are maybe core principles to you that maybe everyone should do or could do?
Number one is sleep. So I'm usually asleep by 9:30, 10:15.
Yeah.
I also have 2 young kids, so I get in bed early to kind of make sure I've got room to make up on sleep. Because if I went to bed at 11 o'clock and I want to get up at 7, but my kids are getting up at 5:30, you're not getting enough sleep. So I'm in bed early. Also, that allows me to have time to myself. If my kids are up at a good time, I get an hour or so free to myself in the morning. So good quality sleep, get up in the morning, hydrate with water, have a coffee, and I usually eat breakfast just when I get hungry. I don't have a set time, I just let hunger dictate that. It's quite a natural thing. Have a very high nutrient dense diet, good solid amount of protein, stay very protective of my time, like my family get my time, my team get my time, my fitness gets my time, and that's kind of it. So sleep's number one, minimum of 3 decent sweaty workouts a week. I don't try and over plan it too much because I find that's just a struggle with the business and family life, so I keep it quite flexible. Try and play a bit of sport once a week because I don't know, I believe a man has this need to be competitive and be alpha and just do things that are like, so I think sport is a great outflow for that. So playing a bit of sport. So yeah, apart from sleeping well, eating well, moving well, and then there's the mind. The mind is the most powerful or limiting thing that we have. So for me, regular reading and now I'm a parent, it's smaller doses. So I just make sure I pick my education wisely. And then meditation and mentoring. So I get quite a lot of mentoring and coaching to make sure I'm still always upskilling and leveling up my game and also seeing my blind spots. And then meditation, I think, is a great leveler for all things health and decision making.
I agree. The power of breath work alone can do so much for your physiology.
Yep.
You know, people really don't realize, and it's been around for thousands of years. So things don't stick unless, you know, they have some benefit or there's something to them. Do you track your sleep? Do you use like a fitness watch or?
I have an Oura ring.
I thought I saw that earlier.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of intuition leading most things in health, and I resisted getting an Oura ring for a very long time until 2 friends sort of kept going, get one. Anyway, long story short, I cut a business deal, got a free Oura ring, wrapped up in some stuff, and I now really like it. And the reason I like it is because I'm a busy business owner, I've got 2 young kids, and sometimes intuition isn't actually enough. So you know when you wake up in the morning, like, I feel a little bit ropey actually. I'm not on my game today, but your Oura ring goes, actually your blood oxygen level's fine, your HRV's fine, stop being a wimp and get out there and do the training session that you were going to do. And that's really good for me because I've been ill for a long time as well, and actually gauging my health has become more challenging because of background of what's happened with my illness and like sometimes second guessing it. So that's actually been really valuable. So I use more of the health metrics within it than the sleep tracking, but I do and I value it now, yeah.
Do you lift weights with it on?
No, I take it off.
Yeah, because I thought, I've got a Fitbit which is here. It should be a lot better given 2023. But I always thought if I get an Oura ring, when I lift weights, I can't use it. So it kind of takes away my main exercise because obviously it'll damage it. So I just wondered if people did it with that, but fair enough. That's a good point because the amount of times I've woken up and thought, oh, my shoulder hurts, this hurts. And I think, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going gym, but it's probably not going to be a heavy session. I go in there, do a personal best, and I'm like, what were you doing an hour ago? Like pissing around, like giving me all these aches, but then I come in and you smash it. So you're right, like sometimes your body just gives you these signals that you should listen to evolutionarily, right? Like to be safe. Sometimes you have to just be like, this is nonsense. Like I'm going to just do my thing irrespective of that. So you as a person, we've kind of spoken about the difficulties you've had, the challenges. What's been, some of the wins, some of the successes, some of the real big positive moments of having Awesome as a business?
I think in business in general, the biggest win is that I've built a business that I'm able to control and rule so that I can live the life that I want, which is why a lot of people go into business. So I can shape it around my family life. If I want to go out for the day and do whatever with my family, then I can. In terms of the supplement business, if you're willing to play the long game, the scale is pretty infinite. You look at MyProtein, they sold to the Hut Group at 50 odd million, and now they're doing 500-600 million. Crazy. Now in the Asian continents, like absolutely crushing it. So there's huge appetite for that kind of product in pretty much every market. I think there's not a lot more in terms of like the supplements itself, but on kind of like a wider business level, just very proud of like the education things that I've done. Like I've spoken on all the biggest stages in my industry, got a best-selling book, had a #1 rated podcast for many, many years. So like all of those just sort of giving and content-based things I'm very proud of, because I know it's helped a lot of people.
Amazing. And you mentioned there some figures that MyProtein is sold for. I used to take MyProtein, and it was always that, it's okay, it's cheap, it does the job, you know, it's like, meh, and it kind of never got better. And then when I tried their vegan protein, and I tried like some other company's vegan protein, it was just like choking, it was like cardboard. And it was pea protein as well. So I was surprised when you said yours was pea protein, because in my head, pea protein is very cardboardy and powdery.
Yes.
Which this isn't. Now, you mentioned the numbers there. What's next for Awesome? Now, you mentioned the end of the year, your things are going to change, things are going to evolve. But is there a sort of, right, in 10 years, we're going to have 10 million EBITDA, we're going to sell for this much and sail into the sunset? What's like the vision for Awesome as a business?
So I'm now fascinated by health on like a wider level. So in my 20s, health was all about looking good, performing good, being able to like push and achieve. But unfortunately, all that push and achieve made me burn out, get ill, and actually had to sacrifice my health for a long period of time. So being an entrepreneur made me ill. So now I'm trying to slow down and go, right, how do I stop loads of other people, whether they're entrepreneurs or ambitious people, not do what I did? So I want Awesome Supplements to start to evolve more into a wider health understanding picture. So you asked me about the Oura Ring, like the ideal Awesome customer for me in the future would probably have an Oura Ring and do these 5 things every day to monitor where their health is at and understand their health. That would include periodic blood testing, periodic gut testing, because like all these things give an incredible insight into your health. Like when I had long COVID, I did a gut test, and the gut test came back and it was like, your guts are in absolute bits.
I can imagine.
And I worked on it and I really saw the benefits. Like my stool changed, like I could physically see it. So for me, again, it's that wider play of making people understand how valuable their health is. And I'm now mid-30s, I've got 2 kids, and every other mid-30s people that I talk to with 2 kids and older, they're always struggling to get that balance of like work, health, life, etc. So if I can bring together all of that into the Awesome philosophy, then that's what I'm going to do. So there's some really cool changes that are happening, but that's probably as much as I'm willing to share for now.
Listen, I like it. I think one thing I have heard throughout this podcast, and I think all of the listeners and watchers are going to have heard, is your passion. Every question that you answer is either starting with your passion, your beliefs around health. And for me, that's really nice to see, because a lot of people get in business to chase money. A lot of people get in business for ego, for a combination, or to play the game of business. But from you, what I really get is passion. I get giving back. I get helping others. I get something that I think is lacking nowadays, because as I said earlier, it's so easy to not have that and make money. You can make money with no values, no ethics in any industry, and you arguably will make more money than the people with values and ethics, right? So it's so nice and refreshing to hear that, especially when it's something that I'm consuming every day, to know that you as the owner have this as your forefront. Like for me, that's really important. Now, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be? And more importantly, because I'm a foodie as well, what would you eat?
Oh, what would I eat? Do you know what? I'm a massive fan. You know that game you play where you're on death row and they're like, what's your last meal? And people are always like, huh? That's your main meal? But I'm a massive fan of a really well-cooked Sunday roast.
Classic.
Like all the meat trimmings, like, and especially because my wife's mum is like pucker. Other family members are also good at roast. So maybe, I don't know, like really well cooked, not cooked, but like really good sushi's really good. I'll say I'd love a really good like South American meal. And that's only because I've not had that food.
Yeah, I've had it briefly.
So I'm like, because it's an incredible steak. A lot of people love a really good steak. I don't eat it often, but like when it's, you're like, oof. So the three people, probably Richard Branson.
Yeah, okay.
I've always admired his value-based, passion-driven approach to business and changing things. So I've read all his books, probably read them all twice. The second one would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again, I'd love to feel that energy of he's probably the most focused, historically high-performing alpha that there is. And I'd love to be around that.
So you're going to say you want to feel his biceps there for a second?
I want to feel his biceps too, yeah. That's probably a really bad impression.
I'm going to clip that now just for me.
And then the third one is probably The Rock.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to just, again, feel that momentous energy and focus. Or, I don't know, I'd maybe choose someone like Ray Dalio. Some big, lovely writers. There's a lot of writers that I really respect. Ray Dalio being one of them. His book Principles is phenomenal.
Really good books, yeah.
Maybe someone like that. Maybe Tim Ferriss. I don't know.
Tim Ferriss is a very cool life hacker.
Yeah.
I feel like his mind, and it probably is because of the ayahuasca and stuff that he does, but I feel like his mind is just sort of operating on a slightly higher plane than most of us with the way he looks at things. So yeah, I love Tim Ferriss and I'm down for some South American food for sure. Now, this podcast is called TED Talks Being Better. Now, for me, being better is kind of two things. It's being, which is being a human being, but being present.
Like it.
But then also balancing that with being better. Because as entrepreneurs, we make this much. Let's make a bit more. We make this much. Let's make a bit more. We never stop, right?
Yep.
And I think it's important to have a stop point and to have a set point and to enjoy that. What does being better mean to you?
Continual evolution of self. And I love that feeling where every day, and it might only be a 5-minute moment in my day, that I feel that I've just learned something or peeled another little bit of the layer of the onion back, and I'm like, oh, I can really work with that. And I just find it a very warming aspect to the soul to know that you've grown as a person, even in a tiny way, some days in a really big way, in a really profound way. So I look for that. And I think that's sometimes why I get quite frustrated with having young kids, because you're like, oh mate, I'm up at 5, they're not going to be up for an hour or so. And you just sit down, I'm like, right, I'm about to meditate for a couple of minutes, and wow, you're like, So sometimes I do get that kind of frustration in my life, but yeah, it's that just chipping away at it. I find it so exciting. And some people might think that's kind of obsessive or whatever, but we're not on this planet for long. And actually exploring our own potential and abilities, I think, is an absolutely beautiful thing.
I think that's a beautiful way to end it, Ben. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been, like I've said, it's been amazing to just hear and feel your passion for your business and your passion for health. And I'm glad that you're able to express it and create these products that are based on passion. And I am really looking forward to the evolution later this year. So I will be keeping my eyes peeled. And look, I'll put all your contact details in the show notes below for your coaching, for Awesome, website, everything. I'll put it below. And honestly, people, I don't just say this. I'm going to grab a pack here. I genuinely love this protein powder. It tastes incredible. It smells amazing.
No.
It mixes. Sometimes it thickens the things you mix. Sometimes it makes them. It just has this wonderful quality, and the orange flavor tastes like Terry's chocolate orange almost.
Chocolate orange.
For cakes, yeah. When I had it, I was just like, this can't be protein.
Yeah.
This.
It's a bit sweeter, that one. It's for the sweet tooth person.
It is. Yeah. It is. And but the orange is. It just tastes like a real orange.
Yeah, it's bitter.
Yeah, a lot of orange stuff is just not nice.
Sickly.
Yeah, way too sickly, way too tart, and tastes like Calpol, Calpol orange, which tastes quite nice to be fair. But people, honestly, I really, really like these products. So if you're looking for a new protein powder, creatine, protein bars, multivitamins, a bunch of stuff, honestly, go check it out, because like I said, I don't wax lyrical about things unless I consume them. And I have this every day, and I have IBS, and it doesn't trigger no issues at all. So again, if you have IBS as well, then yeah, gotta fuck with it. So Ben, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. You're doing good things, so it's a real pleasure to be on the show. Thanks.